Hey guys, I just wanted to give you a quick video on me trying to see whether or not it's viable to repair the alternator off of a 2005 Ford Focus ZX3. It reads here Ultima 01-3752 as the part number. I'll provide further information on the part number and if I can find a compatibility chart, I will give that up as well. Basically, I'm doing this video because I saw online on forums and things like that whether or not it's a viable option to rebuild one of these alternators. You know, the common thing that people always say is, hey, it's the voltage regulator and brush assembly that fails on these guys. And so I wanted to give it a shot. A lot of people wanted to say, you know, hey, this is an aware component. When these start to go, the bearings and everything else will start to go too. And you can buy a bearing kit for it, but I just want to do a quick video just to see if this works. And you know, after I do replace the right here I have it, the voltage regulator and brush assembly, I'm going to take it to O'Reilly's and just give it a test, and we'll see if it works out. So this one I've already actually disassembled once, so I'm just going to fast forward through the slow bits. But basically, first you have to unscrew these three bolts right here, here, and here. Also, this is an 8mm socket, just in case anybody wanted to know. You also want to take off this this connector here, which is for a 10mm socket. Now, since I disassembled this already, I can just pull this off the bearing, like so. There's a bearing here. It's pressed on right here. But what you want to do if you don't have, obviously you're not going to have it pre-disassembled, is just after you take off the three bolts and take off this connector here, you're going to want to get a screwdriver, a large screwdriver, and just kind of put it underneath on a hard metal surface here. If there's plastic, or if you have a different alternator that has connections between the top and the base, you're going to want to make sure that you verify there's no connections like that, because you'll have to either cut those off prior to disassembly and solder them back on, or you know, maybe your alternator might not be worth rebuilding. So basically, what I did was just use this hammer. You know, hit the end of a hammer right on the good base points at the top, and you know, it took a while. I had to kind of rotate between the three mounting bolt positions, but eventually you can get it off. So next, the voltage regulator is held on with three different, I believe it takes a Torx T20. So I have this bit here for that, and just take it off. So now I've got my new voltage regulator assembly here. You can look at them side by side, make sure they're the same, just as you do with any other part replacement. So they look the same to me. You'll notice that this one comes with a holder here, and what that does is it holds these brushes in place. You can see that the original one has a hole here in the brush. Also notice that there's wear in these brushes. I don't know how well you can see it in the camera, but there is wear in those brushes. I don't really think that this particular voltage regulator assembly has failure because of that. Just because it seems like it's getting good contact with the slip rings in here. There's two slip rings that match up with these brushes, and yeah. Just talking a little bit more about diagnosing is you have these slip rings here. Seem like they're all right. They're not too worn down. There's other videos that can show worn down slip rings. But one of the things I wanted to show you with these slip rings before I replace the voltage regulator assembly is one thing I do know how to diagnose. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to check the continuity between the slip rings here and where it meets up with the coil inside. You know, the electromagnetic coils that there's lots of videos on how alternators work, so you might want to watch one of those. But basically I'm just doing a continuity check between the coil where the slip ring is connected to the coil. So there's one here, and then you rotate the base here, and then you check the other side with a base, you know, the coil contact here as well. So I'm turning my tester on continuity mode. So first I'll check to see there's an auditory beep when the two contacts meet, so I know that these, you know, my tester is good. And then I will check with touching the coil with one end and the slip rings with the other end. So it's not the bottom slip ring. Well, I didn't have good contact with my coil there. So there you hear on the top slip ring on this side we have continuity. So we know that the slip rings are getting continuity to the coil. And so the bottom ring, slip ring, should be the continuity here. And there you go, we have continuity here. So we have continuity with our slip rings. The slip rings look like they're in good condition. So we're going to go ahead and assemble this unit here. So just put it right back in place. Then I'm going to just get the screws started before I pull the pin for the brushes. Actually, I can go ahead and just fully install these 3 screws. Alright, now I'll pull this pin. If you don't pull the pin, obviously it will not work. So you get to hear the brushes making contact with the coils, or the slip rings, excuse me. What I'm doing now is I'm just making sure we have alignment for our bearing. So when I screw down the connecting through bolts, that I won't have any problem making sure that the bearing is seated here on the top. And I'm going to install my 3 bolts. Kind of alternating just to make sure that I don't press the bearing on sideways. I'm not going to tighten these too tight, just get them good. So I'm just rotating this to make sure that nothing's bound up. It did seem initially kind of tight, but seems pretty good now. Put this guy back on, and then I will go test it at O'Reilly's, and we'll see if this rebuild is worth it or not. The new voltage regulator cost me $18, I believe. And you can see in here, I'll use this kind of pre-assembly tool to pry up the, right here there's a circuit board, and you can tell it has a bunch of crud in there from the brushes, all the debris from the brushes wearing away, and it's kind of dirty in here. You know, I would think that this would be, right here, would be the failure mode, or a solder connection between here and here, you know, something there. It gets really dirty, something like that could be the issue, but we'll see when we test it. So, I just got back from testing this alternator at O'Reilly's, and it failed the test. It was only putting out 11.5 volts. So what that means is that the voltage replacing the voltage regulator did not fix our problem. So you know, I did a little search online, and I found, you know, one of the things also could be the clutch could be bad. And one of the ways you just easily test that is just see if you kind of halt the impeller or keep it static by just putting a screwdriver in there and holding it, and see it turns this way, but you try to turn it the other way and it does not turn, and so that's good. I don't know what else to test, so if there's anybody out there that knows what I should test, please comment and we can try to fix this alternator. If I don't get any comments for a while, I'll probably end up selling the alternator for parts. Yeah, now you know. So I wondered, I couldn't stop but wondering if just replacing that voltage regulator would fix the problem. Turns out it did not. But you know, maybe somebody else out there knows something I don't. So basically all I know how to check was the continuity in between the slip rings and the coils, and check the clutch, the pulley clutch, and just checking to see if it's obviously turning easily, you know. If it's all like shaking around and stuff like that, that's no good. So yeah, if you know how to check anything else, you know, if someone replies before it's sold, I would love to test it, because, you know, I like learning new things, and yeah, just reply to any ideas below. Thank you very much.